Okay, welcome. My name is Nancy Knowles, and I am president of the Board of Directors of Art Center East. I'm very happy to be here tonight to hear David Pickering read from his work. Before I introduce Amelia Ettinger to introduce David, I just wanted to say a few words about Art Center East. We are a nonprofit organization that has been in existence since 1977 and has been serving communities in Eastern Oregon, providing lots of opportunities for creative expression, including classes and lessons and multiple galleries and retail opportunities for artists, and currently take and make kits that have become popular in this age of COVID. We also have a couple upcoming events, one of which is the Dia de los Muertos celebration on October 29th in the evening. And then our Handmade Holidays is coming up in November 19th and 20th. So those are a couple of upcoming events with Art Center East. So I just wanted to mention those things, and literary readings is another thing that Art Center East has been doing monthly on the third Wednesday of each month. We're very happy to have a featured reader tonight. On other nights, we often do open mics. We will have a brief open mic after the featured reading tonight. And we are looking ahead to hosting Brittany Corrigan, November 17th, and Lindsay Martin Bowen on December 15th. So those are our upcoming readings. All right, it's my pleasure to introduce Amelia Ettinger.
Oh, I am unmuted. Good. I have the pleasure to have read David's book many times, and I am so excited to present him. David is a native Oregonian, having grown up and lived much of his life in the working class culture of the North Oregon coast. His poetry has been published in various journals, including Goldman Review, Portland Review, Gertrude Journal, Raw Art Review, and Haunted Waters Press. David recently retired from a 30-year career in human resources management, and he and his husband, Stephen, live in Oregon. This is the lovely book. I don't know, you can see it very well. Unfortunately, there it is. It's a lovely cover too. I fell in love with the manuscript when it first came through my hands. It is irreverent at times, it is poignant, it is funny, it has all the elements for a good read. So I really highly recommend this book. And you really want to hear him, not me talk. So here is David Pickering.
Good evening, everybody. I'm so happy to be here with you. I'd like to thank Art Center East for their kind invitation for me to read to you this evening. And yeah, I'll be reading, most of the work I'm going to be reading is from my my book, Jesus Comes to Me as Judy Garland. It came out in the 1st of September of this year. And I'm just thrilled. I'm just thrilled. Airlie Press did such a wonderful job with my manuscript. So anyway, this evening I'm going to be reading from the collection. It's the winner of the 2020 Airlie Prize. And I got to tell you, when I got the email that said that I had won, I was eating dinner and I glanced at my phone, and normally I don't look at stuff when I'm eating. I glanced at my phone and I saw the email and I thought, oh, should I look at it? It's another rejection. And I looked at it and it was not a rejection, and I just about choked on my food. I screamed at my husband and he thought that something was really wrong, and it was something that was really right. It was just wonderful. Anyway, so I'm going to be reading from the book, and also because I can, and we'll have a little bit of time. I'm going to read a couple of new poems and see how they sound to me and how they sound to you. So let's get started. My husband and I moved to Hillsborough in June. We had been living in the Dalles for 5 years. And my first poem for you this evening is titled, "The Dalles is as close to Portland as Eastern Oregon dares come." Even Hood River is too close. The 20 miles between morphing greener and more progressive Democrat every mile west. I like the weather in TD, the way the rain peters at Rowena. I like how the woman who cuts my hair has an unironic beehive and plainly doesn't give a shit. She circles me in white New Balance, Clipper Precise, bitching about the hipsters down the freeway and how they wrecked a perfectly nice town, suspicious of folks without local lineage. And though she could likely kick my ass in a bar fight, she eyes me like I'm a scary clown and passes the collective trauma. Those damn Rajneeshis took over at Antelope, tried to kill us up here, poisoned the salad bar. Go look it up, you'll see. I read opinions in the local paper. The editor loves God, the Second Amendment, and not me. Not my rainbow bumper sticker, not my public displays. And after 3 years, I'm still as iffy as those red shirts when they first arrived with their Bhagwan smiles, flush and buying local. Nothing much thrives in the Oregon desert without help or luck. So far removed from Portlandia, small plates, and all that yoga. So easy to be swallowed in the expanse. The sky, so Catholic, I had to relearn how to breathe, to pray. I'll never cede myself to local norm, but I'll always take in the rimrock evening, absorb the benediction of dry air and red lenticular clouds, always turn to the deep end of the sky. I've learned to see in the dark now. I can see for eons in this rolling sage cosmos. I'm not sorry I came. Pardon me. Second poem is titled Vox. Now, for a lot of my life, I was a singer. I was in a hippie theater group. We put on these musicals that nobody came to, and I did musical dinner theater, and I sang in a lot of pickup groups and community choruses, and it really is just one of the loves of my life. Anyway, this is titled Vox. The instrument is testy and hard wired to emotion. Nerves make it sharp, inattention flattens it. Ask any tenor, he'll tell you how age limits the range, how his line is toughest. He'll also go on conspirito about the flat altos, easy sopranos who always get the melody, and those lazy bastard basses who only have to show up in a tux and sing low to get laid by half the chorus. He'll tell you his is first to go, a dark harbinger for the others who hear his tiny slips on the wire, watches fall from first to second, still able to hit a solid B flat once or twice, but no longer able to live up there. The ecstatic loops above the staff, incaldanzo pushes, pulling the choral body to its apex, a split geode of raptured vowels, Roman candles of sacred sound. Well, that's enough of that. All of us who sing know tenors in general are touchy as drunken drag queens and prone to the isimo. But we also remember our first time, uncool in the safety of the music room, the collective intake, the bowing of air across chords, our callow revelation at the opulent overtones in a chord perfectly tuned. Our mouths, our throats open, our bodies vibrating in betrothal. So fraying and pitchy, we still can't help but offer it up. And when we do, we are the first notes sung in Notre Dame, Gothic vaults cupping and ringing us full of heaven, our amoroso faces, rose windows full of jeweled light. Now, the collection has a couple of running themes through it. One is one of the things is there are several poems where Jesus comes to visit me, and it's Jesus comes to me as Judy Garland, obviously, but Jesus comes to me as Mrs. Rose Castorini. This one is Jesus comes to me as Lucille Clifton. Lucille Clifton was one of the first poets I ever heard who I really got. I just loved her work. And after she passed, I wanted to write something to honor her. And well, I hope this does. I don't know. Jesus comes to me as Lucille Clifton. He comes in short lines, no caps, says the I is no more important than the rest of the letters, no less either. He wears loose cotton poetry clothes, Birkenstocks, says he loves his fro, his big glasses, generous hips, says they spin men like tops, good as ever. Still has no use for periods, though the uterus is back and he goes everywhere praising menstruation. He tells me every day something will try to kill me, tells me it will fail, tells me I am a book of light. I hope that honors her. I like to think it does. Okay, the other sort of running gag in the collection are poems titled they're family poems. My family gave me lots and lots and lots of stuff to write about. The Pickerings do this, the Pickerings do that. This is titled The Pickerings Try Methodist. We use a whole pew, good-looking rednecks who know how to dress, our old Cadillac dripping oil and rust in the rain out front. Even Dad is there, sweating last night's drunk into his suit. Mom is pretty in her frosted makeup and auburn 60s flip, just a little plump, but still a head turner. We stare straight down the nave at an altar set for business, a tray of wafers, shot glasses of grape juice, a brass bowl of water sweating in the warm chapel. We trudge disinclined down the aisle, Mom's eyes a thumb in our back, the room a red and purple bruise, the pastor immaculate. We answer the questions, get the sprinkle, Mom beams. She believes in nothing more than fresh starts. We're going to say grace at dinner now, she decrees in the steamy caddy. Her pink lips and green eyeshadow, her red highlights glowing in a blue cloud of smoke. Anything is possible. She could get the house clean, have the pastor over, find a prayer that works, one that makes her husband sober, her children mind. Okay, I grew up in a Masonic and Eastern Star family, and so as a result, I had to be something called a DeMolay boy. The DeMolay boys were sort of Masons in training, and there was a girl's counterpart as well. And my sister was a rainbow girl. Frankly, I wanted to be the rainbow girl, but they weren't having any of that in my family. So I I ended up being a DeMolay boy, and back then, in order for a member to be accepted by the chapter, the members had to vote using a black box method. I can't believe we were still doing that, but this is back in the late 60s, early 70s, and it was still a thing to do back then. Anyway, this poem talks about that a little bit as well. DeMolay boy. I come from Masons, a long line of masters. I learned the DeMolay secret handshake, how to turn square corners around the stations, how to say the prayers on one knee, trying not to laugh when Jim made fart sounds. I was not a straight boy for long. Everyone knew before I did, and once I was excluded from the comfortable camaraderie of boys, I learned to love what I could. I loved the way trees grew like fur all the way down to the dunes, how land and ocean flowed into each other. I loved the way loggers smelled of pitch and sweat when they came out of the woods, stubbled beards and unzipped hickory shirts, nests of sawdust caught in their chest hair. I loved their tired eyes as I filled the tanks and washed the windshields of their pickups. I loved the way they knew my past, asked what my dad and his brothers were up to, how my grandma was doing. I loved the way they looked in their suits at the Masons Lodge on our DeMolay nights, bad ties and butch waxed hair, their deep voices telling us how to use the mahogany box of small white balls, one black in their midst. It's easy, one ball, one vote. Put a white one through the hole if you want him, and put the black one through if you don't. Rough, scrubbed hands passing it along the line of boys, each of us given the heady power to exclude. And I remember savoring the possibility of revenge, reliving the sneered stings of faggot, the worst word one boy can call another, as I fingered that hot black ball. I held it a long moment before putting it back, knowing even then what it was I loved about me, about them. Okay, and I have to confess I got things out of order. This is the poem I was going to read before that one, so we'll pick this one up. This is titled, At Age 10, I Am the Joy of Old Ladies. I got to tell you, I grew up in Rockaway Beach, and we lived in an area called Twin Rocks, which is just south of town, and it's just an area, weren't any stores or anything. It was just an area of vacation homes. And I had this whole route of little old ladies I would go visit. And I would just go hang out with them, and this is a poem kind of about that. At age 10, I am the joy of old ladies. Their husbands are dead. They've continued their little shingle retirements, playing pinochle and canasta and driving their old Buicks, rusty, bulbous, and passé as our tired resort town, with its bumper cars and motor courts and no reason to pull off the highway. I catch on fast, a clever partner when they need a fourth, and always happy to empty ashtrays, to refill plates of jam-stuffed cookies served on sets of 40s Heisey. My presence is unquestioned, though my preteen boy-girl body, my lazy belly and unmanly breasts strains my clothes, strains dad's tolerance, grandma's indulgence, other boys' ready inclusion. These ladies deal me in. Let me have real coffee and the scoop. I know about the mayor's first wife and why Tommy doesn't look like his sister. I know Mr. Sims used to sell homemade booze. I know about Bobby, whose mom owns the Curly and Cute, how he got arrested in Portland for something I couldn't quite hear and was sent to Salem for shock treatments. The ladies tut and coo, pass me more cookies and admire my meld, tell me I'm smart, say I'm a wonderful boy. Okay, we're back on track now. This next poem is The Pickerings Eat Every Night at 6, and by God, we did. Whether it was ready or not, whether it was overdone or not, it didn't go on the table until 6, and you better have your butt in the chair. So The Pickerings Eat Every Night at 6. The tines of dad's fork pierce the back of my hand, a four-fanged bite leaving 2 red sets of snake eyes. We learn fast to ask for food to be passed or leave bloody as the rare ribeyes we have on paydays and birthdays, and the day a butchered cow arrives frozen and wrapped, blue ink branding the cut. Such relief from the 8 flavors of hamburger helper and mom's god-awful chuck desiccated in onion soup. Dad's mood is passed around the table. We each get a bite, swallow it down whole. We crave steak the way he likes it, swimming in red, our sharp knives sawing, juice-stained paper napkins shredded in our laps. We cut baked potatoes in half, scoop out the steaming insides, mash with Nuco margarine. What did you learn in school today? We all know nothing is a bad answer. So we butter hot skins, get them in our mouths fast, burn fingers, tongues, careful not to talk with our mouths full. There's never anything for dessert. Cakes are polished off when frosted, cookies don't make it to the jar. Nothing ruins our appetites, not the payday candy bars we stash in drawers, not taco Doritos scarfed with Leave It to Beaver afternoon reruns, not the risk of being busted after school, passing the joint, finger to finger, exotic green smoke curling lip to lip. We've learned how to hold it in, no matter how bad we need to breathe. We're experts at the underground. Hands washed, sitting at the table, we mind our manners. Say please and thank you. Eat what's on our plates. Reach for nothing. Okay, Rockaway had a Chinese restaurant. It was horrible. It was the worst Chinese food I think I've ever had, although at the time I didn't know it. And sadly, for better or worse, that restaurant informed my taste for Chinese food for the rest of my life. And the decorations in the restaurant, it was this restaurant, it sat on a lake by the highway, and the decorations, it was like somebody went to the dollar store and bought a whole bunch of stuff and just threw it around, and that's what the place looked like. Anyway, this is titled Chinese Food. A ceramic Buddha blesses the blue lace curtains and rust-colored Naugahyde booths. Plastic Canton lanterns throw haphazard pools of light on the indoor-outdoor carpet. Menus are exotic lipstick promises. Outside the picture windows, happy ducks paddle through rushes and bread crusts floating on Lake Lytle. Delicate celadon willows sway with the motorhomes zipping down Highway 101. Rapid fire Chinese flies like plates from the kitchen, at once foreign and normal, like the number 4 combo plate, like the spice hot surprise of Kung Pao blooming in my mouth, like the first time I kissed a man. Okay, the next 2 poems they're love poems. And everybody, lots of folks, turn up their nose at love poems. I think we should write more of them. These are love poems for my husband. We met at a gay square dance class in Portland when we were 50. And I dragged his butt through a church wedding a couple years after that. And then we did the registered domestic partnership. And then what was legal, we finally went across the river to Washington and got married in the courthouse. So it's like I've been married 3 times to the same man. Anyway, this is, and we got married before it was legal. So this is titled Illegal Marriage Talk for Stephen. At 5:30 a.m. on our wedding day, I was capable only of the guttural. Speech at that hour is always my slow-witted sister, yet you tease it out of me. Coherence, a miracle. Back then, our days started as they do. A recalcitrant kiss, seditious coffee, the subversive times. After we trimmed gray beards and bought our new suits, on that day, we walked hand in hand to an altar floating on the Oz of Rachmaninoff's vocalese. There, we found our voices of insurrection, cemented by rings and vows and pastor, but not the law. And even today, I remain buoyant in language I know only in your context. The tough Lexis of revolution, faithful, avowed, marriage. This vocabulary I never wanted. This precious articulation, this sweet Pentecostal blessing. Okay, this next love poem, this is after we'd had a really bad year. You know, every now and again you have a year that just everything hits the fan and you go, oh, what next? And then you find out what next. We had actually a couple of years like that, and this is titled The Annus Horribilis Valentine, sort of like the Queen's bad year, Annus Horribilis. As we endured the premarital counseling, our pastor talked about disappointments, How hard it would be to watch the adored one struggle in mires of loss and failure. And if we heard her at all, it was as an aside, a barely registered maybe, drowned in all that love blood pounding in our temples, pumping optimism. It was the best time ever, that time. And even though it was late for us, we reveled in the luck of it. Bodies that still worked well enough, careers secure. We decorated our home with it, and I wrote you poems, all the beautiful words I knew, never getting them perfect enough, tinkering, wanting just the right shade. Was it arrogance not to think we would arrive in this annus horribilis stopover? Even the queen left her royal graffiti on the bathroom wall. For a good time, don't stay here. Yet here we are, on the way to another somewhere, smart enough to shower and change and not move in, wise enough to know a mirabilis will soon be before us. And just as you joke, my poems are never done. Neither are we, my love. We're more than what we used to be. We're all the good together we become. Okay. All right. I'm going to read an old man poem or two. Not that I'm old, but this is titled Blue Easter. When we lived in Portland before we moved to the Dalles, we lived in the inner southeast area, fairly close to Hawthorne, and I kept I actually spent a fair amount of time on Hawthorne, and that's where I would go get coffee and things like that. Was a little out of place on Hawthorne, frankly, but screw them, I got there first. This is titled Blue Easter. Oh, the other thing I want to tell you. I sent this to a publication, a sort of a religious publication, and they didn't take it, surprise, surprise, but I got a note back from the editor who really liked the poem, and he said, you know, that first line, that's about the best prayer I've ever heard. So the first line is what he is referring to, Blue Easter. Jesus, you're risen today. Can you believe this shit? If you were out with my gray hair, you'd have to wait forever for the barista too. Those dismal hip kids on Hawthorne Street bounce off me like pinballs, mumble sorry at their phone screens. I'd trip them if there was any sport in it. And I've been to sunrise service already. I guess it didn't work. Invisibility makes me cranky. Portland always chooses youth, any antidote to the gloom. Today is still cloudy as January, and I feel anything but ascendant. But even I have to concede the extra light diffused in the overcast. It nudges blooms in the futile camellias, petals that last a day, then rust in the rain like Dad's old sapphire Cadillac. All fins and pitted chrome, it sucks wind like my body gasps for air when I'm lifting weights at the gym. Navy veins throbbing under translucent skin, tissues avid for aeration, lungs at capacity, brain revving, one more, one more, one more. Translation, I want another day. Give me another day. Hemoglobin always cries out for more, craves the alchemy of oxygen, that transformation of blue into red, And Jesus, I know it's why you keep sneaking back here unannounced. No trumpets or singing angels, just another misplaced hippie wandered up from Eugene. You're still crazy for that magic animal body you left behind, for the abundant life running through it, the human hue of scarlet you can only find here. The retro lips of the girl with Betty Page bangs, her friend's cherry high-top Converse, the ruby neon sign buzzing open, the breath, the heart, the blood. And I think I'm going through these a little faster than I intended. So I'm gonna, oh God, I forgot to start my stopwatch. So I have no idea. Give me a holler if I'm going over. I'm gonna read another old man poem since it occurs to me to do that. Okay. This is titled Margot Channing and I Know a Thing or Two. All About Eve is one of my very favorite movies, and this poem references that movie throughout it. It starts with an epigram from the movie. Margot Channing is the part Betty Davis plays in the movie, and she looks at Eve and says, we're all busy little bees full of stings, making honey day and night. Aren't we, honey? Anyway, Margot Channing and I know a thing or two. In drunken, slow-eyed splendor, Margot Channing sits melancholy in her martini, wanting Liebestrom over and over. It's her party. She's paid the pianist, warned friends to fasten safety belts, and in a couple of reels, she'll tell her best friend how she knows what the career has cost her. Yes, Eve's a bitch who connives to get what she wants, but that's not the point. It's the price, right? We all want something better, and not even college guarantees success. Though last week I heard employers are desperate for bachelored applicants, and advisors selling degree completion programs to a hopeful classroom of rubes, each of us eager for our no-cost, no obligation information session. After 25 years in human resources management, I could have fessed up like Margot, told them all the truth. Employers all know a bachelor's qualifies you to do nothing, and only in academia will you be hired for it. But I'm desperate as well, and lost in career burnout, trying with poise to get out, practice the sum of my professional learning, don't shit where you eat. It may not work. I'm at that age. My silver hair and beard are no longer premature, and my tolerance for collaborative workstations shrinks daily. And now I think I might know why that old fart at the hardware store looks so glad to work there. Margot was smart, knew the casting problems. Too old for Lady Anne and too young for Queen Margaret. Why not play a domestic, marry Bill and cook intimate dinners, sit candle lit lovely across the table watching him lap it up, pour him some coffee with dessert. A barista gig looks good to me, mastering the cap in my black jeans and hipster glasses, serving it up with cranky, seed-it-all wit. But I'm an American male, mid-century roast. We're taught from birth to get on top, stay hard, sting anyone in our way. Eve knew all about it, knew expedience is not the best teacher, but it gets the job done, and only losers look back with regret. And I've become maudlin as Liebestrom on repeat, forlorn as Margot's fifth martini. We've carved art from poor production, survived bad lighting and worse writing, lost good parts to the pretty but lousy. Here's what we know. Ingenue's age, talent doesn't. We can wait them out. All right. I'm going to read the title poem in the collection. This is another Jesus poem. Jesus Comes to Me as Judy Garland. Heavy-lidded Milltown eyes full of knowing how it is. He wears the little black dress she wore on Jack Parr in '62. Her last good years before the voice went and she got so weird and died in London, seated on the loo. He has a pink follow spot, says he loves what it does for his complexion when he belts them out at Carnegie Hall, gets the people on their feet, clapping, standing on the seats, shimmying in the aisles, says everyone wants a piece of rapture to tuck and savor later, to help them through the days of shrink-wrapped tweets and Pandora playlists. Jesus said he knew he had to intervene when he heard me in the 7th grade hallway singing, "Don't Rain on My Parade," knew I was more of a Judy than a Barbara, and gave me A Star Is Born to replace my funny girl infatuation. He says Judy knew better how to project the note, send it through whirring atoms of air, through sinew and bone to stroke the heart and move into space where it begat glowing galaxies, gaseous clouds of color spinning red to blue to gold like the light on Grammy's silver Christmas tree glinting in the living room as the Judy Garland show boomed on the TV. Just listen to her, says Jesus. I knew you'd love Judy, that she'd be your truth and your way. I heard it when you were born, your first cry, that note went spinning, created a world light years away. He points to a star, then another and another. Look, see what you can do. You help create the heavens. He takes my hand and I can see the pulsar I made singing The Man That Got Away in the basement, age 15, fat and queenie and flawless. The quasar made to get happy, singing in Grandpa's old fedora, "We're going to the promised land." Notes flung like solar winds, a celestial borealis flaring on my shoulders, a feather boa of serpentine light, my fingers snapping planets and shooting bright fire. Okay. I'm going to skip the new poems. I think I'm done. So there we go.
Yay.
Thank you, David. That was wonderful.
Delightful. Thank you. I wonder if folks in the audience have questions.
You know, I've never asked you this, but every time I read your book, I wonder how many siblings you had. I envisioned 6 of you.
No, there's just 3 of us.
Oh, really?
But we take up a lot of space. I have an older brother and a younger sister.
Great. Other questions?
I don't have a question. I have a comment, I suppose. Maybe it'll turn into a question, but no, I really enjoyed your reading, and I was thinking, you know, it was described as irreverent and humorous, and I definitely pick up on that. And I was just thinking about how the the serious moments or the poignant or profound moments are spread out. There's a lot of space between them with the humor and the irreverence. And I really enjoyed how when those serious moments occurred, the effect was greater because of that. And you know, and I think it was the second poem when you talked about having to learn how to breathe again in Catholic air. And oh, which poem was it with oh, the first old man poem, and the moment where you said you couldn't deny the light coming through the gray sky. I thought that was really, really beautiful. So thank you.
Thank you for that.
I don't think they were irreverent. Only by the people that have very narrow vision. When you really look at what you're saying. I was impressed. I had not read your work. I was impressed. I can't think of any questions.
Okay, come on, somebody make up a question, okay? So
I
we
have
can-
a question.
How old were
Okay.
you when you started writing?
Oh, there, that's good.
How old was I when I started writing? Oh, jeepers. Well, I wrote a lot. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I wrote a lot of drunken poetry in the 80s, 70s, and early 80s. I got sober in 87, and it was horrible poetry. I mean, even it was horrible. I still have some of it though, oddly enough, and I didn't pick it back up again as some kind of art that I would seriously consider the practice of until, oh jeepers, I want to say the mid-90s. So yeah. And in the mid-90s, I started writing better poems, okay poems, but you know, I really think there's something to that old saying. You got to put in the 10,000 hours at something and since I don't have any, I don't have an academic background in the art at all. It's something I just had to do on my own. So with a lot of help and kindness from other poets. So.
Do the years of writing drunk poetry count towards the 10,000 hours?
Oh, hell no. No.
Well, they should.
Darn it, dang.
No.
I wrote really bad poetry in junior high and high school, but I wasn't drunk.
Well,
It was just really
those
bad.
might count, but you know.
Well, David, I really liked the way you, I don't know, pieced together memory and the thematic elements and the meaning. And I just was curious about your process for mining and using memory. How do you go about doing that?
You know, I wish that I had some kind of intelligent answer about that, but I really don't. You know, I don't have this system or I don't sit down and say, well, I'm going to write a poem about this. Something starts scratching at the back of my head, you know, and I'll start writing and get a really crappy stanza and put it aside, and then the real thing kind of wants to come out. And I should also tell you, I'm dyslexic. I didn't know that I had dyslexia until I was in my mid-50s. So things connect up in my brain probably in ways that are different than a lot of people's. But I'll think about something and that will sort of connect to a memory or something, and somehow that gets inserted into the poem and it kind of drives it. Does that make sense?
I really like that description. Yeah, thank you. Good. Are there other questions? Okay, well, let's give another round of applause.
Yes.
Thank you, David.
That's great.